Have you ever asked yourself why are some people able to learn foreign languages and you are not? Did you ever feel jealous of all those polyglots who are able to pick up a new language easily while you are struggling with that one language you started learning a few years ago? In a case you did, and I'm sure you did if you're watching this video, chances are that you're not any less intelligent or any less talented for languages than these people. Instead, you're probably doing some things wrong. And in today's video, I want to share with you 5 things that successful polyglots do differently than average people who are struggling with learning a new languages. These 5 things you can change easily, you can implement them in your everyday lifestyle, and this way you're definitely going to be able to learn your target language that you have been trying to learn for a long time or that you're dreaming of learning. So if you stay till the end of this video, I'm sure you will be very successful with learning new languages soon. Before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Natasha. I'm a polyglot fluent in 9 languages, and on my channel I'm sharing different language learning tips and stories. And with my tips, I'm sure that everyone, even those of you who are not experienced with language learning, can and will succeed in learning a new language. So let's start with these 5 things that I have noticed successful polyglots do differently than average people who are not that good in learning languages. Thing number 1 that is probably not gonna surprise you is procrastination. I have noticed that a lot of people, when they decide to start learning a new language, they usually try to postpone it and to convince themselves that they're gonna start learning it next Monday or next first in a month or next year, beginning of next year. And this is something that doesn't only work with languages. I think we are all sometimes a little bit lazy and we try to start doing new things or learning new things from the first in a month or from next year or whatever date sounds good to us. However, when it comes to language learning, this is a big mistake. In my very long experience of language learning, I have never told to myself that I'm gonna start learning this language next week or next Monday. I have always started pretty much the same day when I decided to learn that new language. And I have learned 9 of them, so I would say that I definitely am allowed to give advice. So if you're someone who is trying to learn a new language for whatever reason, whether it's for fun or for work or for school, I recommend you not to start next Monday, not to plan on starting next year or next 1st September or whatever date you had in your mind. I recommend you to start learning today. I understand that you might not know how to do that, you might not have a course chosen, you might not have books or material, but I believe that whatever you do in that language is already going to be considered a start. So if you're someone who wants to learn French, for example, start today either by watching something in French or at least listening to French music or trying to read something or trying to learn a few basic words and phrases that you can definitely find online. You don't need a teacher for that. But whatever you do, please remember that starting next Monday or next year is probably going to cause you to never start. So whatever language you picked to learn next, make sure you start right now, today, after finishing my video. So this is definitely one thing that a lot of people who are not successful in language learning do wrong. They try to procrastinate, to promise themselves that they're going to start next whatever magic date they have on their mind. However, that's very wrong, and I feel that you should start as soon as possible, ideally today. Next thing that I feel that you're doing wrong and successful polyglots and language learners are doing right is the fact that you are very scared. I understand that learning new things, especially as an adult, is very scary because you might feel that your brain is not ready to learn new things anymore. You might feel that you're out of shape for learning, especially when it comes to languages. And you also might be scared that you don't have enough time. However, one thing that is definitely different in a case of polyglots and people who speak many languages is the fact that they're not scared. I have never been scared to start learning a new language, and I have definitely never been scared to try to speak it because I have always told myself, what is the worst thing that can happen? I have started and tried to learn some languages that I gave up on later. And this is definitely the biggest fear that a lot of people who learn languages have. However, I don't think it's a tragedy. It's perfectly fine to start learning something and then realize that it's not for you and to give up. After all, I always say that no knowledge is useless, so even if you give up on learning a language that you wanted to learn, there's no shame in that. You still learned something new, you tried something new, and at some point of your life that might definitely be useful for you. And also, the best thing that can happen is that you will succeed and you will learn a new language, and you will definitely regret ever being scared of trying to learn it. So if you were one of those people who are very scared of trying to learn a new language because you are afraid of not being successful or wasting too much of your time and money, don't be scared. There's nothing bad that's going to happen in a case you do not succeed, and there are many good things that can happen in a case you do succeed with learning a new language. So definitely do not be scared. Thing number 3 that you're probably doing wrong is trying to find excuses such as lack of time in order not to start learning a new language, or in order not to dedicate too much time to learning a new language. I have noticed that a lot of adult people are always using this time excuse when it comes to doing something that they're a little bit avoidant of doing. So I have met a lot of people who would actually love to learn a new language. However, they're always thinking that, oh, I'm not going to have enough time to do that. You know, it probably takes so much time to learn a new language and I really don't have it. I'm sure that every single person has enough time to learn a new language, because believe it or not, you don't have to study a new language for 8 hours a day or 4 hours a day, not even for 2 hours. Learning a new language can be incorporated in your everyday routine. There's no need for you to sit at your desk in front of a book for hours and hours in order to learn a new language. That is even wrong in my opinion. So there are so many fun, easy ways to learn a new language that can be easily incorporated in your everyday routine. So if you are someone who is trying to find an excuse to not to learn a new language because you are very busy, even the busiest people do have time to incorporate new language in their routine and therefore to learn it. In the beginning, it might take a little bit of organization skills to learn the basis of the language. However, the more you learn, the easier it's going to be to improve it. So I'm sure that absolutely everyone has time for this. Thing number 4 that you're doing wrong is the fact that once you start learning a new language and once you find a course or a class or a language school that's going to teach you that language, you are relying 100% on your teacher or on the school. This is a very, very common mistake that I have seen so many people make. I have noticed that once people pay for something, they immediately expect results. So in a case you pay for, let's say, a language school or a language teacher, you might somehow feel entitled to success. You might feel that no matter what happens and no matter how much effort you put in it, you have to learn that language because you paid the teacher to teach you. This is totally wrong approach when it comes to language learning. Teachers are there to help you. I know that there are so many great teachers out there for all languages, and I'm sure that some of them are very affordable nowadays. However, language learning is something that is 80 or 90% on you. So you will have to put most of the effort. Teacher is there to help a little bit and guide you a little bit. However, a lot of people rely completely on teacher and on those 45-minute or 1-hour classes they frequent once or twice a week. And they don't do anything else in order to learn a language. And this is definitely a recipe for failure in most of the cases. Thing number 5, or last thing that you are doing wrong when it comes to language learning, is the fact that you are not dedicating your free time to language learning. You do definitely have some free time, that's why you are on YouTube watching videos. So in a case you are someone who wants to learn a new language, I think it's definitely not enough to dedicate 45 minutes or 1 hour a day or a few times a week to learning that language. Instead, you have to dedicate, at least in the beginning, pretty much all of your free time to that language. However, I'm always saying that you should make language learning fun and easy. That way you're definitely not going to give up. So my recommendation is to include that new language that you're trying to learn to your everyday routine by replacing everything that you are doing for fun in your native language to doing it in your target language. So if you're someone who enjoys Netflix shows, Try watching some that are made in the language that you're trying to learn, or try switching the language they speak to whatever language you're trying to learn. If you're someone who loves reading, try finding books written in a language that you're trying to learn or your target language. If you're someone who enjoys music, which is pretty much everyone, try finding songs and reading the lyrics in the language that you want to master. There are so many other things you can do. There are podcasts out there. There are social media where you can follow influencers or web pages or profiles that you're interested in, or in the field that you're interested in. Instead of doing it in English or in your native language, try doing it in the language that you want to learn. In the beginning, it might be a little weird. It might feel weird because you're not able to understand that much. However, with time, as you improve in your new target language, you're definitely going to understand more and more. And this way, you will definitely be learning a lot. And the funniest thing is you don't even realize that you're learning with all this, but you are. So what I always recommend to people is to never rely on just sitting in front of a book or going to language school for 45 minutes or 1 hour a few times a week. Instead, try to dedicate a lot of free time to the language that you're learning, but of course in a fun, easy, and enjoyable way. And if you want to get more tips, tricks, and language learning stories from a polyglot, from someone who speaks 9 languages fluently, please subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments about your language learning experience. Doesn't matter if it was successful or not, just let me know anything language related in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. See you next week.